side of the aisle for the cash payments. The notion of extending unemployment insurance and providing additional benefits under unemployment insurance, I guess we're going to argue as to who came up with the idea first, but both sides agree on that basic idea. So these proposals brought before us are not in controversy, as I understand it, in the negotiations that are underway. The thing that I was concerned about, and Senator Schumer addressed, was it really focusing, and Senator Manchin raised the same issue, focusing on the threshold issue of the capacity of our healthcare system to deal with this public health crisis. When we hear the governor of New York this morning suggesting that the hospitals of that state have to increase their capacity by 50%, and it still might not be enough, it's a suggestion to all of us that we need to start with healthcare and hospitals. It was our feeling that the bill which Senator McConnell tried to move yesterday was not adequate, didn't provide the necessary resources for that. I hope that when we return to this measure, and it's been said by the Senator Schumer and others that it could be today, and I pray that it will be, I think you will find additional resources for hospitals and healthcare. In my state, that is a critical element. Let me also talk about the fact that we are dealing with a bill of great importance and great magnitude. Reflect for a moment that the amount of money we are talking about in this bill is roughly equivalent to the entire domestic discretionary budget of the federal government in 1 year. And we are dealing with this bill, as we should, on an urgent basis. We should take care to make sure we do the best we can, but not wait for the perfect. Make sure that we have something that is good and responsive to the needs that we have. I also think that the measure yesterday that was pushed by Senator McConnell did not provide adequate resources to state and local governments. When I talked to my governor in Illinois, Governor Pritzker, they are expending money in ways they never dreamed of to deal with this public health crisis. They're also seeing more unemployment insurance benefits claimed than we ever have in our history. We need to help the state and local governments, and that was one of the objections we had to the bill yesterday. We didn't feel that it was adequate. When it comes to corporations and providing help to businesses large and small, count me in. I'm one of those Democrats who stood for the stimulus package that President Obama brought before us because I thought it was necessary. I still believe that we did the right thing in passing that stimulus package. Many on the other side of the aisle did not. Part of that package helped larger corporations, and so be it. I thought that was necessary, but we learned a bitter lesson. Many times, the benefits being given to those corporations and the tax breaks being given to them translated into stock buybacks where many took the money and ran. We don't want that to happen again. Arguing for transparency and accountability on the money that goes to any business, large or small, is not unreasonable and used to be bipartisan. We are arguing over that, debating over that, negotiating over that at this minute. Let me also say that I continue to be amazed at the references to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She really unnerves a lot of people on that side of the aisle. She is the Speaker of the House, you know, and the measure, whatever we do here, is headed over there for consideration. The fact that she would want to be party to that negotiation is not an outrageous idea. It happens to be consistent with the bicameral system of government that we have. The senator from Kentucky got up and talked about how she came into the meeting and ruined the whole meeting by asserting herself as Speaker of the House. It's reasonable for her to do that. In fact, the suggestion by Senator Schumer at the outset was that we have the four corners, the four leaders, Democrats and Republicans, and a representative of the White House for this negotiation. That approach was rejected by the senator from Kentucky. We'll do our own, he says. We'll get back to you when we have a Republican plan. It wasn't bipartisan from the start, and it should be all the way. It's the only way it will work. And let me say for a moment that if and when, and I pray that it'll be done under circumstances where we've reached an agreement, if and when we vote for cloture to motion to proceed, at that point, the senator from Kentucky can offer any amendment he wishes. I hope at that point we have an agreement, and we all agree to do it in a quick fashion. But this idea that it's going to be instantaneous as soon as we vote for the motion and cloture on the motion to proceed, it's not a fact, and it hasn't been for a long time. Let me just conclude by saying this, an observation on something related to our meeting here today and what is going on in the United States of America. 5 of our members did not vote yesterday on your side of the aisle. 1 has been diagnosed as having COVID-19, and the other 4 have self-quarantined because of concern about their own health. It is natural. It is naive for us to believe that that is the end of this challenge to our membership. I implore you to consider the bipartisan measure that Senator Portman and I have offered for remote voting. We should not be physically present on this floor at this moment. We know better. And our staff is subjected to whatever we bring on the floor in terms of viral load. Let's think about this in human terms. Too many of our colleagues and their families are falling prey to this disease. We should change the rules of the Senate to reflect humanity and reality. It's the 21st century. Voting in a remote fashion, as I've suggested with Senator Portman, is the best way, I think, to protect us and our families from further problems from the health viewpoint. Let me close with the final word in saying this. Senator Schumer came to the floor and didn't say, arms crossed, we're stonewalling. He said he had to leave the floor to go back and negotiate. With whom? With Republican leaders from the White House and perhaps other places. That's the way it should be. We're going to get this done today. Take a deep breath. Everyone's emotional at this moment on both sides of the aisle, but we have a job to do, and we're going to get it done. I yield the floor.
For the information of the members, the majority has approximately 14 minutes, the minority 15 minutes. Senator from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been here 5 years. I came from another world where to get anything done, you had to compromise. The problem we have today, I can't find any partners to compromise with. This bill has been characterized as another bailout for large corporations. Really? That is the most amazing characterization I can hear today. When I look at this, what this bill is focused on is the American worker, who in the time we've been debating this morning here, thousands have had phone calls given to them today by their employer to say, we're sorry, but because of the liquidity situation we have, there's no demand for our products or services, we need you to go home. That's been going on now for weeks while we sit up here and talk and blame each other for things. The time for action is right now. This bill gives us an opportunity to bring over almost $2 trillion of liquidity to the American people who are in need. This is not about big business. As a matter of fact, I don't see any grants in here, Mr. President. What I see are liquidity opportunities so employers can keep their relationship with the employees. We've already heard the details today. Direct payments of $300 billion directly to individuals, $250 billion for 3 months of unemployment insurance, unprecedented. $350 billion going directly to small businesses. Why? So that they can keep their employees employed, even if they're furloughed, Mr. President. There are $500 billion being made available for loans through our banking community. This is federally guaranteed loans. These are not grants. These are not monies that are going to go to the boards and the executives and all of that. This is money that's going for the purpose of getting directly to payroll. There's $517 billion of tax deferrals on withholding taxes on the corporate side. That's a 1-year deferral. That is not a guarantee. It's not a grant. There are $250 billion of other monies, 180 of which is going to cities and municipalities and states. And I agree with the assistant leader of the Democratic Party that we might need to do more for our states and local communities. So let's get to it. If that's the biggest issue here, but that's not the biggest issue. There are so many of these other things that are being thrown at this bill because it is a big bill. It's unprecedented. But let me just say this. What we've done is trying to make this a situation where we can avoid a liquidity crisis causing an insolvency crisis. And that's the most damaging thing we can do to the American worker. At the end of the day, the American worker has something that they all have in common. They have an employer. That employer is made up of investors just like you and I who invest in those companies who employ these people. This is not a government employing 150 million people in our workforce. This is about getting the American economy a bridge, and that's all this is a bridge to weather this medical crisis that we have. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Senator from Ohio.
Thanks, President. I appreciate the comments from the senator from Georgia. I There's plenty of negotiations going on. I don't know what he means when he says he doesn't have anybody to negotiate with. I just spent 2 hours with Secretary Mnuchin talking about provisions of this bill. We spent hours on Friday and Saturday talking within our committees. I applaud Senator Rubio, what he and Senator Cardin did. There's been bipartisanship, but not from the majority leader, and that's really fundamentally been the problem, the Republican leader. Let's back up 10 days. I stood on this floor, Senator Durbin was here, a bunch of us, when Senator McConnell on a Thursday night, we were this close to agreement with the House on the second package, the ones that had sick days in it, sick leave policy. We were that close. Senator McConnell decided he had to go back to Kentucky to go to a political event with the Justice of the Supreme Court, a political event with the Justice of the Supreme Court in Kentucky.
Yield.
I'm sorry, what?
Will the senator yield?
Of course.
When did the Senate receive that bill from the House?
That's not the point. The point is that...
Will the senator yield?
Certainly.
Will you answer my question? When did the
I'll
House
answer your
receive that
question.
bill?
I don't know the day, but I know it was a day or two later.
What about where has the
point-
House been for the last
I'm not
week?
yielding now, Senator Cox.
Where has the House been for the last
I know you
week?
always want to do Trump, the president's bidding, and always want to do is I have the floor and I will keep the floor. The fact is that we were in negotiations with Speaker Pelosi, I assume with Leader McCarthy. In the Senate, we were this close to legislation. Senator McConnell went home. Senator Cotton's not disputing the fact he went home for a political event with a justice of the Supreme Court, for gosh sakes. Went home Friday. We didn't vote Friday. We didn't vote Saturday. We didn't vote Sunday. We didn't vote Monday. We didn't vote Tuesday. We didn't vote until Wednesday. So we've tried to be bipartisan. Senator McConnell then dispatched all of us just a few days ago to do negotiations within our committees. I sat with...
Would the senator yield for a question?
Well, I'd like to sort of explain the
senator does not
details,
yield.
but if the time comes out of your time, I'd be glad to.
The
It could
senator
come out.
yields.
My question will be short. Is it not true that the bill to which the senator refers was still being written over the weekend, and it would have been impossible for the United States Senate to vote on it before Monday?
No, the answer to that question is no, it would have been possible. We can always suspend the rules and move if it's in the national interest, but we didn't vote, you know this, Senator Alexander, we didn't vote until Wednesday. But let me back up. So this weekend, Senator Crapo and I and banking committee members were making progress on Friday and Saturday. Then Saturday night, Senator McConnell decided that he would take everything back and write a partisan bill. So don't tell us that this has been a bipartisan effort. Again, Senator Rubio and Senator Cardin had some bipartisan efforts. We attempted that. But the fact is, we need to learn from 10 years ago, the same people came to us and said, we need this bailout. They promised that it would help people stay in their homes. They promised that it would be money in the pockets of workers. The banks have done well, the executives have done well, but since then, wages have basically remained flat. The American people don't want another corporate bailout. They don't want a bailout for Wall Street. They don't want a bailout for the airlines. They want money. If we're going to do a relief package, the money needs to go in the pockets of workers. We know that in case hundreds of people, thousands of people in each of our states are faced every day with the situation, do I go to work? I'm sick today. Do I go to work and possibly infect somebody else in the workplace? Or do I stay home and lose the pay that I need in order to pay my mortgage or in order to pay my rent? We need this plan is all about a corporate bailout. The money, $425 billion, that the Secretary of Treasury can decide as a slush fund on where to direct that money instead of money going to workers, to food banks, to unemployment insurance, to sick day policy, to all the things that we need to do to keep businesses going and people in their homes. We have a prohibition that so far Senator McConnell has objected to on foreclosures and evictions. You all know the statistics. 40% of Americans don't have $400 discretionary money in their pockets that they can use in an emergency to fix their car or whatever. If they go several weeks without pay, they will be evicted. They will be foreclosed on. We need Senator McConnell to actually agree to that. And when it comes to the $425 billion slush fund, we want to help these businesses, especially small businesses. We want to help the airlines, but we need to make sure that this money passes through to employees. That means no corporate bailouts without investing in the dignity of work. It means if you're taking taxpayer money, no stock buybacks, no sending jobs overseas, no outsourcing your jobs to independent contractors, no golden parachutes for executives, no using taxpayer dollars to bust unions, no wage cuts for these employees, no health care or pension cuts. We put money into these businesses. This money is there not for the executives, it's there for the workers, and it's there for the community. It means actually helping people stay in their homes. If you love this country, you fight for the people who make it work. We have to show the people we serve that we've learned from Congress